Hello, fellow travelers. Today's message goes out to all the Democrats in Washington, D.C., the Biden administration, and Congress. I'm a Democrat. I've been a registered Democrat for 50 years next year. The 2022 election cycle is the 50th year since I voted my first time. I know, hard to believe looking at this mug, but it's true. Having said that, I am fed up to here with your games. This has got to stop. Now, you are United States representatives and senators. And what that means is that you are a representative or senator from the state that you reside in, except for Josh Hawley. But you are not the representative or senator of that state. The legislation that you worked on impacts all of us. So we are all, the entire country, are your constituents. And while we may not all be able to vote for you, your votes affect all of us. I would like you to keep that in mind as you find your way through this. Now, 2/3 of this country can't agree that the sky is blue, but 2/3 of this country supports virtually everything in your agenda. 2/3. It's not even math, it's arithmetic. 2/3 is greater than 1/3. And if you do what 2/3 of the electorate want you to do, you stand a much better chance of being around longer to do more of it. You'll win more elections by doing what 2/3 of the country want you to do. And if you don't do what's necessary to fix what's wrong in this country, then the next election may very well be the last election. Because not only are the Republicans enacting voter suppression laws, they're enacting voter nullification laws and making it so that they can overturn any election they don't like. This cannot stand. You must protect the voting franchise in this country. You must establish the floor by which voting rights move forward. For if you do not do that one thing, then nothing else matters. The rest of your agenda is history. You're done. You will not win any more elections. Not because the base won't support you, but because the Republicans can overturn anything that you do in elections going forward. And there's gerrymandering. You've got to fix this. Now, there's only one way you can do that, and that is to eliminate the filibuster. So let's talk about that for just a moment. The filibuster is unconstitutional and illegal. Because it's unconstitutional, it's illegal. The framework for the Senate, as established by the Founding Fathers, says that it will be operated under majority rule. Not sometimes, not when you feel like it, all the time, period, full stop. It provides no exceptions for that majority rule. So, if you need a reason to get rid of the filibuster that's non-political, the fact that it's unconstitutional is certainly one of the things that you could do. Let's look at this from a political lens for a moment. The very first thing that Mitch McConnell is going to do, if you hand that gavel back over to him, is eliminate it, so that you can never stop anything that he wants to do going forward. But number two, if if you get rid of the filibuster, you can pass your entire agenda. You can do what 2/3 of this country want you to do. You can put on your superhero capes and save America. Not just our democracy, but all of our lives in the process. Because your infrastructure bills, while they go a long ways and not quite far enough in some cases, are the stepping stone to saving this planet from climate change and from the fall of democracy. Because if you allow this democracy to fail, they will all fail. This, right here in America, is the mothership of democracy. Think of the movie Independence Day. Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith fly up in an alien spacecraft to take out the mothership so that all the other ships no longer function and crash and burn and die. This is Independence Day. If you don't save democracy, every global democracy will also fail. Not only that, widening that lens just a little bit further, you will hand the keys to the largest, most powerful military force on the planet to an autocrat. It won't be Donald Trump either, but it will be someone much more dangerous who actually understands how to be an autocrat. I can't imagine that any of you want to have as your legacy being the person responsible for ending global democracy. But that's what you're toying with, and that's not being hyperbolic. So let's move on to the Biden administration. President Biden, you have the responsibility here of getting into that bully pulpit that you own and doing what you can to support this. Now, I fully respect the separation of powers. You're not going to direct the DOJ to do anything. You're not going to direct the Congress to do anything. But you need to start applying some pressure by galvanizing more Americans into moving in this direction. That's what you can do. But let's move on to the Department of Justice. Now, Attorney General Garland, I'm not an attorney. Don't play one on TV. But as I said, I've been around a while. And I've picked up a few things here and there. And the responsibility of the Department of Justice, from my understanding of it, is to investigate and prosecute crimes. You, and by the way, you members of Congress, all took an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States. A document that means nothing if the rule of law is not applicable. The rule of law says that no one is above the law. Now, I get the whole idea of prosecuting previous administrations and what that can look like. You don't want to be seen as going after your political enemies. So let's reframe this a little bit. You're not going after your political enemies, you're going after criminals. Donald Trump and those who aided and abetted him broke virtually every law in the book, from treason and sedition on down. This cannot stand. Accountability must happen. You cannot allow people to break the law and not be held accountable for it. You cannot. Or saving democracy through voting rights and legislation is meaningless, because if the rule of law doesn't apply, democracy falls. Now, take it under advisement, think about it, see if that makes any sense to you. Now, finally, Director Wray, I'm a firm believer in the First Amendment and freedom of speech. It has to be protected. But we also know that all speech is not protected. The most common example of that is you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, if there is no fire. Using that as your measure, you also cannot incite violence against the government, against the country, or anyone that lives within it. These people who are supporting insurrection, who are suggesting armed overthrow of the government, who are suggesting physical violence against elected officials, non-elected officials, doctors, nurses, healthcare workers all over the place, school boards. This is not protected speech. This is criminal speech. This is illegal speech. And this also cannot stand, because this is also part of the rule of law. It's accountability, it's responsibility, and it's your responsibility, in my opinion, to put a stop to it. And the only way you put a stop to it is by actually holding people to account for it, no matter where they are, no matter who they are, no matter what they do. From a guy on a street corner in Santa Monica holding a sign with the addresses of the City Council of Los Angeles, to representatives and senators in Congress. Hate speech, violent speech, is not protected speech. I know you got a full plate with 600 criminals already facing prosecution for the insurrection, but your job does not stop there. It has to include terroristic threats against people in this country and against our government. We have to fix this now. We have to save the planet. As I said, from climate change, from autocracy, from the end of democracy on the planet. You are our only hope. We have no other recourse. We have no other way to stop this train. You're it. You folks in the Senate, in the House, in the Biden administration, Mr. President, you are the only people who can stop this. You're the only ones who can fix this. So I implore you, please, stop messing around and get this done. The only other choice is apocalyptic. The only other choice is the end of our way of life in this country. Don't be responsible for that. Be responsible for saving it, not for destroying it. Thank you.